How's it going out there, YouTube? If you would, for me, please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. So, movie I'm going to be talking about right now, is not one I was really looking forward to. Because I'm going to be very honest with you. I get a charger. Laptop's about to die. I was not looking forward to this one. I think this movie baffled me more than any movie being made, especially when it comes to like remakes. So this is The Crow 2024. I did not review this, and I know I said I was going to. I actually reviewed the 1994 Crow movie. If you want to check that out on my channel, I did review that. So, and it was supposed to be in preparation to review this one. I just never really got to the theater to go see it. So I have seen it, and here's my review. So, The Crow 2024. So this stars Bill Skarsgård. I'm just gonna say FKA Twigs as the girl's name because I wanted to. There's another name I wanted to call her. And I don't know if it was the right name, but it just looked like that to me. So this is a more modernized version of The Crow. Now, the first thing I noticed when I saw this trailer that I did not really care for was the look. Because if you go back to the original Crow movie starring Brandon Lee, those sequels don't exist. I'm not even bringing up the sequels. But if you go back and watch the Crow movies with Brandon Lee, the first Crow movie with Brandon Lee, directed by Alex Proyas. The thing with Alex Proyas is he had a vision, and if you look at that movie even today, it had a really dark tint to it, and it made it look more gothic. It gave it more of a darker gothic type setting, and even some of the lines of dialogue in there was kind of memorable too. I believe he said, what was one line where he said, or mother's God in the eyes of a child or something like that. It was just lines like that, that were memorable from that original Crow film. So you fast forward here, there are no memorable lines in this. This is actually directed by, a director I don't really care for, to be honest. And it's not personally anything with him. Scandal aside, I know this director was tied to a scandal a long time ago. But this is Rupert Everett who directed this. And Rupert Everett, if you remember him, he directed Snow White and the Huntsman. I believe he did both of them. He did the first and the second Snow White and the Huntsman. So he's kind of done fantasy before. I know the first Snow White and the Huntsman was pretty mediocre. I went to theater and saw my mom, and it was just a mediocre film. And then he did a sequel that I never bothered to watch. I just heard nothing but bad things about it. And then the reason why I didn't watch it was because Snow White and the Huntsman didn't need a sequel. It just felt like a contractual obligation at that point, so I just didn't bother. I know Charlize Theron came back for it, and Emily Blunt was in there, so do what you will with that. But this movie, so Rupert Everett gets a shot at, I think honestly, with some really big shoes to fill. You're asking Rupert Everett, a pretty mediocre director. That's right, he did that garbage Ghost in the Shell remake too. So you're asking a mediocre filmmaker like Rupert Everett to come in and direct a movie where the original creator, the guy who wrote the comic book, I think his name is Alexander O'Barr. I know his last name was O'Barr, and his girlfriend tragically passed away, and that's what inspired him to create The Crow. You have Brandon Lee, the main star in the original movie, died on set. He was killed on set. And they still had to shoot some they still had some footage that they shot with him to finish the movie. Uh, this came out. The original came out around the goth movement. That started a goth movement back in the early '90s, early and all through the '90s, actually. And even the early 2000s. So you're asking Rupert Everett to top this, and on top of that, the movie's actually good. The original is good. Yeah, it is your run of the mill like revenge story at the end of the day, and that's what this one kind of is too. It is a revenge story. I think my issue with this movie is it is so standard and it's so basic and there's nothing memorable about it. I think the only thing I do remember scenes from the movie, and I ain't seen this movie that long ago, to be honest with you, but I mean I don't really remember that much about it. I mean it's just such a generic film. So you got Danny Houston in here. I guess he plays a demon that steals people's souls, and basically, so this movie, of course, it's the resurrection of Eric Draven. The whole point of The Crow is we want to see Eric Draven get done wrong. We want him to come back from the dead and get his revenge. My problem with this movie is you don't get that until like the last 20 minutes of the film. Yeah. So I'm not even exaggerating because I checked the timestamps. I was waiting for something to happen. He really doesn't become the Crow, y'all, until like the last 20 minutes of the film. So that's where the action pops off. So the whole hour and 15, 20 minutes, you're sitting there wondering, like, man, when is he going to ever become the Crow? Because a lot of this is a love story. Seriously, it's a boring love story. This actually goes into depth with Eric Draven and his romance for the girl he meets. And I just why I don't understand why would you take that angle. That doesn't make sense to me. The core thing that we came to see doesn't show up until it gets to the opera scene. Once it gets to the opera scene, that's where it gets crazy. Now, I did like some things about The Crow. I did like the fact that they have it to where when he takes damage, like when he gets shot or stabbed or whatever, he still feels the pain, but he can't die, and he actually heals like Wolverine. Whereas in the original Crow, he just laughed and joked it off when he got shot. But in this one, he actually does feel the pain. He feels every gunshot, every knife wound. He feels that, but he can't die though. And I think Bill Skarsgård is an amazing actor. I mean, this dude is in everything. As of recent, he's just been in every project you can think of, a lot of movies today, and I'm glad he's getting that kind of work. I think Bill Skarsgård is a good actor, definitely one of the big actors in the Skarsgård family. But I was really, I wouldn't say I was disappointed with this one because I know this movie has some really big shoes to fill, and then when I found out it was Rupert Everett who was directing it, I was like, yeah, this is not gonna measure up. Y'all gotta. I hate to keep dogging on the dude, but like y'all got a super like mediocre like director to do a remake of what is considered a classic. I mean, in so many ways, just became an iconic film. After Brandon Lee passed or was murdered on set, with Alexander O'Barr's wife killed. That was the reason, killed by a drunk driver. That was the reason why the Crow even existed in the first place. And then, of course, we got the crappy sequels, sure. And then this one, like I said, I think it's not a good movie, but I think there could have been something here. There were maybe one or two ideas I was like, you know what, if this was more focused on than this boring love story, I think the movie would have fared a lot better. But But as it stands, no, it's just a pale imitation of the original. If you guys want to see The Crow, watch the original film. It's so much better. And like I said, I just recently saw the first movie. I reviewed it, and I gave it a high recommend. But unfortunately, this one's going to be on the opposite end of this spectrum because I'm going to give this a low recommend, whereas I gave the original high recommend. So Crow 2024 is going to be a low recommend for me. I say it's got a couple good ideas, but you have to wait. You have to wait for a very long time for this movie to even finally take off. Because they build this romance between the two main characters, Eric Draven and his woman, and it's not it is not that great. It's not that interesting. I don't even think the chemistry is that great, to be honest with you. Yeah, it's almost like a forced chemistry. But yeah, this is a low recommend. So that is my review for The Crow 2024. Now, if you like this movie, definitely comment. There's a comment section, and you can let me know if I'm crazy and you actually like the movie. But until that happens, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.